Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me for this very special time we're going to spend together. I want to welcome our guests, Kim Fish, Sarah Ungerman, and Dovey Mizell. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Dovey. And then I think we're going to be joined by Lenore. Is it Lenore? Or I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Lenore.
So, Lenore, yes, who's actually on the ground there in, I think, Moldova. So everyone knows that Putin invaded Russia. I'm sorry, he invaded Ukraine on February 24th, completely unprovoked and sparking a humanitarian crisis. To give you some perspective on that, as of a few days ago, there have been over 2.8 million people fleeing Ukraine in 2 weeks. Comparing that to what happened in Syria in 2015, 2016, there was 2.5 million people over 2 years. So 2 weeks or 2 years, it's just an enormous trauma that's being inflicted upon the innocent people of Ukraine. Mainly women and children are being separated from their husbands and fathers who are being left to fight. If you're 18 to 60, you're a male, you're will be called to fight in the military. So you have families split. There's enormous trauma that's being suffered in addition to wounds. And I think a lot of us have seen what's going on TV. You can see the indiscriminate bombing going on. So, and then these people are at risk from predators as they cross the borders because they're very vulnerable. And anyway, so I was introduced to United Hatzalah, I think only a week ago, really. And over the last 2 weeks, I have been looking for something to really pour our aid and assistance. I feel Genesis and myself, I feel like we should support and help where we can. And this organization has just blown me away with the work they're doing. They're on the ground in Moldova, and they're going to explain what they do. So I don't want to take too much away from that. It's just a way. It's a way for us to really help out in a small way that we can, being here in the United States. And then I'm going to talk about this a little later, but we're going to launch a campaign today to help fund United Hatzalah's efforts. And there is a Genesis page established on the Genesis or the United Hatzalah website where you can donate. There's no donation too small. If you want to, donate something to show your support, and I will be matching every dollar that is donated, so up to $5,000. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim, who will talk a little bit more about this, and then we'll have Q&A at some point. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So first of all, we really want to thank Michael. As he mentioned, we met exactly a week ago at 11 a.m. Through another one of our friends. And I think it goes to say he was telling us about some of the educational opportunities provided through the office, and it really spoke to me about some of the things that many of you are doing, whether it has to do with International Women's Month or Black History Month or all of these different things that are so important to getting to know our history or what's going on in the world. And this is another one of those moments in time where all of us are trying to figure out, what can we do? Our heart is breaking. And while this is on the other side of the world, it very much is impacting each one of us as we turn on our televisions every single day, or if for some of us, that's where our families come from, or how can this be happening again? So 5 weeks ago, had you said to me, what does United Hatzalah do? I would have said it's the largest independent, fully volunteer emergency medical response organization, and we provide completely free emergency response care throughout Israel. I would have told you that for me, the best part of our organization is that it is 6,200 volunteers made up of Arabs and Jews and Christians and Druze, men and women all working together, because every single life matters and all we do is save lives without looking at race or religion. These are people who, thanks to Uber-like technology, I'm pretending I'm holding my phone, I just realized I wasn't, they can be at their office, they can be working at a falafel stand, or they can be preparing dinner at their own home. They drop whatever they're doing and they race out to save a life. Hopefully it's to deliver a baby, or they're taking care of a person in crisis. And they are available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. In a major city, we are there in 90 seconds or less. And throughout Israel, it's 3 minutes or less. And we can do this life-saving work before an ambulance actually arrives, which usually comes 10 to 15 minutes later. When this crisis began, we knew we had an absolute expertise to be able to address the humanitarian aspects of the work, and we knew how to handle crises and emergencies. At the time when this broke out, we were the only emergency response group in Moldova on the border. So we did what we always did. We responded in the first initial seconds. We had an initial team of 10 on the ground, looking and assessing the situation. We set up a field hospital, and at the same time, we started feeding people and literally doing whatever needed to be done as refugees started crossing the borders. 3 days later, we had 40 more medics on the ground, setting up more field hospitals. And as of yesterday, we've already provided 22,000 refugees with medical care and humanitarian aid in Moldova. We've provided 17,000 meals to all refugees, and we have flown more than 50 tons of supplies into the region. We've also flown approximately 1,000 refugees that are eligible to go to Israel to Israel. And the person who's really responsible for every piece of the logistics of all of this, and I'm not sure how he does it, and it's why he might be yawning, because he literally arrived back from Moldova. And it's one thing to work by coastal, it's another thing to be working one day in Moldova, one day in Israel. And it is Dovi Maizel, our head of operations. And Dovi will speak to us about all of the logistical pieces and the operational pieces, as well as the new operational centers in Israel, which has had to be opened in order to be able to move all of these things. Following Dovi, we're going to have Lenore, who is on the ground and has handled the customs emergency that came up in Moldova just before this call. And then we'll open it up to questions for all of you, because I know that's going to be one of the most interesting parts for all of the pressing things. And I just want to start by saying it is a completely safe space. So if there's something you're thinking about that you want answered, they're both literally on the ground or fresh back from the ground. So feel free to ask. So Dovi, I turn it over to you, our expert.
Oh, wow. Okay, setting the bar. So I'm just Dovi. I don't know about the rest. I got back last night for the third time over the past 3 weeks. Tomorrow's going to be 3 weeks since we started this operation, or actually since Putin started this operation. And I have to say, before I even start going into the details or anything, I got to say that what we're seeing on TV, on the news, on CNN or Fox or whatever you watch, doesn't matter, doesn't even scratch the surface of the feeling of seeing these refugees crossing the borders, helpless, with kids, women, elderly people. Just like Michael was saying, the men stay behind. And we meet them as soon as they cross the border, after they said goodbye to Papa. That's what they're saying, Papa, Papa, is when they're crying, coming across the border. And as a father to kids, as a human being, this is just, I think, the most hard and heart-wrenching moment. And to understand, they don't know if we'll see him again, when they will see him again, and if they have a community to go back to. And to see these people is just the most heartbreaking thing. And it keeps strengthening us in understanding the importance of what we're doing and the importance of why this over 100 volunteers that have been out there over these 3 weeks have left their families, left work, taken vacation from work, left home, left their families to go and help other people over there. I'll sort of try to give a general idea of what's going on over there. So first of all, we're based in Moldova. The reason we headed out to Moldova, where you can see most of the TV coverage coming from Poland borders and those areas, is for the very simple reason that Moldova is a country that is surrounded almost, I don't know, 3/4 of it is, at least half of it, or 3/4 is surrounded by Ukraine. And it's not a European Union country. It's a former Soviet Union country. It's not part of NATO. And it's a very small country. The whole population there is all of 3 million people. It's a country that is in a constant state of bankruptcy. And when we got a call early Thursday morning, 3 weeks ago, tomorrow will be 3 weeks, from people in the Jewish community saying, listen, people are coming over here. Can you come and help us? We'd have no infrastructure or anything. So obviously we said, sure, we'll send a few people over and see what we can do. It was then very clear to us, and very fast, it became very clear to us that this is not going to be something of just a few days and not just something of a few people. We're looking at a humanitarian crisis, simply a humanitarian crisis. And we immediately, Lenore, who will be speaking after me, was on the go team and actually came back at the end of last week just for a weekend and headed back out there. We went back on Sunday together, and we understood that this is going to be something that even on our scale has ever been done. So we saw our primary objective when we went out there was a number of things. Number one was to provide medical care, which is our core. We're doctors, paramedics, EMTs, psychotrauma specialists. We understand this is a disaster and these things are needed. I mean, our organization has sent rescue missions or relief missions like these to disasters in Haiti. I myself have led missions to Haiti and Nepal, and then into the States, even to Houston and the Keys when the Hurricane Irma, I don't remember the names, a couple of years back. And we know how to do this, but nothing is as continuous as this. Any disaster that happened that we responded to date happened when there was an earthquake or a hurricane. We see the disaster, we see the outcome of it, and we see, okay, these are the steps we need to do now in order to help in the aftermath. Here, there's no aftermath. It just keeps coming. The borders are open and people keep pouring over into this poor little country, Moldova, pouring into the capital of it, Chisinau. And on the first days, nobody was ready. I mean, there wasn't any infrastructure to take in refugees. People had nowhere to go. Hotels were filling up and people simply had nowhere to go. People were on the street. So they started making tents. And then it just took the system there. I can say coming back yesterday that the city and the government are sort of starting to get their act together in a sort of a organized response now. But in these 2 weeks, what happened was we were on the ground and we saw, okay, there are people coming in. We need a place for them to sleep. So we'll set up tents for them. We'll set up a field hospital for them, not with operating rooms, but, you know, like a triage center, trauma that we can treat these people. A lot of these people coming across the border have been traveling for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even 7 days because they're coming from all over, from East Ukraine. It can take them up to a week to get to the border. And when they cross it, they're obviously exhausted. A lot of them in hypothermia, hunger. These people have not eaten in over a week. All they're carrying with them is a small carry-on bag at the most when they're crossing the border. So we understood that medical was important. We saw that there's a need to feed them. So there's no major kitchen there that's preparing food. So we took a few of the volunteers who knows how to cook. And they started cooking meals. And a few days later, okay, we need supplies. So we flew out on the second plane that we flew out. There was almost 15 tons of equipment, which was primarily food and basic necessities like baby formula, like diapers, toiletries, basic necessities that all you guys just pick up at the local pharmacy or CVS or whatever, and it wouldn't think twice about. And so we made sure to get those on the first plane out, and we started putting the kitchen together. And within 2 days, we were pushing out 300, 400, 500 meals. And a week later, we're pushing out 4,000 or 5,000 meals a day. These meals are going to the refugees that are located in the Jewish Community Center and in the regular refugee camps that the city put together. But there are people there that need kosher food. So we made sure to transfer kosher food, but we're not checking. And anyone who wanted food will just supply the food to anyone who asks. We see people on the street walking at night with a suitcase. We're not checking, are you Jewish or not? We see a woman with children walking on the street with a suitcase past midnight, and we're like, where'd you come from? We got dropped off from a car. We just came from the border. Do you know where you're going? No, and they're just crying this. We pull them into one of these refugee camps. We immediately call a car over, and we put them in the car, bring them over to the refugee camp, obviously warm them up, feed them. Temperatures there are sub-zero in Celsius. I don't know Fahrenheit, sorry. But cold, I don't know, 20s, 15, 20s, okay, in your terms. So we put them in, we feed them, we house them, we get them a place to sleep in these refugee camps. And then we start seeing how we can help them moving forward. Are they moving into Europe? Are they people who are eligible to get on a plane to Israel? We'll get them on a plane to Israel. And then we started getting people out. We started getting people out into Europe, getting them on buses that are set up there to take people towards Germany and Western Europe. Those who have meet the criteria to enter Israel, start getting them on planes to Israel. I think we've done already maybe almost 12 flights. As we speak now, there's a plane leaving. There was one that left Yash in Romania just early this morning. There's one leaving tonight from Lithuania, from Vilnius in Lithuania, which is flying people out and bringing them to Israel. And we focused our operation on flights, food, and work at the borders. And in between them is connecting the dots with the psychotrauma therapy of our psychotrauma unit that have been working with these people, with the kids. A lot of kids there. And on a logistical level, this requires, I mean, we know logistics because we have an organization of, like Kim said, over 6,000 volunteers. So we have a logistical infrastructure, but that logistical infrastructure is good for Israel. It's good for local distribution of medical equipment and whatnot. Here, we mobilized a raising of, we called out to the business in Israel, to the business community, and said, we need food, we need things like that. So the big manufacturers started sending pallets, and we found ourselves with, I don't know, maybe 100 pallets of dry food, of diapers, of baby formula, of blankets, of all sorts of necessities that we know are needed out there. And okay, then we understood, okay, we got to get this stuff over to the other side. We don't even have room anymore in our parking lot of the logistical center. So we started the planes that are bringing in refugees are taking out additional staff and filling up the cargo with equipment. And even 2 days ago, Lenore here will be able to tell the story of bureaucracy. Working with the Moldavian government, we were able to get out a cargo plane with over 16 tons of equipment on it for the people of Moldova. Yes, we did mark a few of the pallets there as kosher food so they can send them to the Jewish community, but otherwise it's just going out to all the people and all the refugees coming in there. It's fighting bureaucracy on the highest level of governments that are overwhelmed with a humanitarian crisis that poured into their country. They don't have a bandwidth of attention even for us. And we even all of that, we were able to make it happen. Maybe because it's our, Kim, you mentioned we use technology, right? But I think the most innovative technology that we've been using over the years since our establishment is chutzpah. And chutzpah, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, is a term for a wild form of audacity, of understand that we need, but in a good way. We're going to get this done. You're going to close the door, we'll jump through the window. You'll close the window, we'll come down the chimney. We're going to get this stuff in there because it's needed. Not because we need our name on it, but because people on the other side are hungry, are cold, and are in the worst situation that they found themselves in their lives. And I think that more than anything drove us there. And having the volunteers on the ground, having that personal touch, talking to the people, connecting with them. Once they're back from the border in the refugee camps where they can actually sit down and breathe after a week of journey. And it is something that created connections here. And then when we see these people get on planes to get out of there, this is the most elevated moment of our day there, of the trip, to see these people get out and move on, whether to Israel or to Germany or to other places, which will be able to absorb them and give them what they need for the months ahead or even more, who knows. And we're going to keep doing this. I just got off another Zoom call with the Israeli student organization, university student organization, which we're connecting with, that they have a lot of students that are native Russian speaking. That's the most important thing, because the connection, a hug goes a long way, a smile goes a long way, but these people have needs. So we are connecting with them now, and we're adding them to our delegation, to our mission, to better what we're doing there, to make it better, to make it more impactful, to really help these people while they're there on the ground, and in the days after, in order to get them out and on to their next stop. Unfortunately, their journey doesn't end in Moldova. It doesn't. But we're trying to help in this journey, that it will be as easy, as human as possible, because I think one of the most emotional parts for me was coming to the airport, and you see these people, we managed to open up the Chisinau airport. Otherwise, before they opened up the airport, we were traveling 12 hours into Romania to get them to airports. We managed to get the airport open, and you see this deserted airport with only desks open, with the only flight is our flight getting people out. And you see these people waiting quietly in line, women, children, some of them Holocaust survivors, elderly people, and all they're carrying is a small carry-on bag. And I only think about how we see our airports, people coming with tons of luggage, and they're just going for a holiday in the Bahamas or wherever, and they're bringing suitcases and carry-ons and fighting about overweight and this and that. And you're looking at these people, they have their whole life packed into a little tiny suitcase or a carry-on bag. And I'm saying, oh my God, it's unbelievable. We see the kids there are still in a state of shock, but you give them toys and you play with them. And with every flight that we saw off at the airport, the whole team would break down in tears, and tears that are a mixture of joy, but also, I don't even have the words to explain it. It's just this impossible situation. And as impossible as it is, we try to do good within it. And I can speak for Moldova, and I can speak for for where we're operating from. We're making such a huge impact. It's not about us, and you can see the selflessness of the volunteers. These are all regular people, just like yourselves. People that have families and have work, drop everything and go, because I think it's the spirit of our country, it's the spirit of our nation, it's the spirit of what we do. It's caring about people. And if it needs to be a bandage that's put on, it's a bandage. If it needs advanced life support treatment, it's that. But if it's a meal, if it's a hug, if it's the toys, whatever it is, we're there, and we're trying to make the difference and show the goodness, because these people are going through so much evil, and getting them out of the hands of evil there and into the goodness of our volunteers, of these amazing people that dropped everything to go and help these people at the borders. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you guys and share. For me, this is my psychotrauma therapy session of unloading. I've not got a chance yet since I landed, so it all landed in your lap. But that said, it really is important to spread the word of all of those who are working on the ground, all those amazing people. It's United Health, other organizations that are operating in other countries around the world and helping. But it really is, give us the tools, give us those toys, give us that food, give us that support that our volunteers need on the ground to continue doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dovi. I'm now going to turn it over to, I like to say she's our superwoman. She's like, except she wears an orange coat instead of the cape. So Lenore.
I'm sorry, Kim. I have to. Before Lenore starts, I'll give the intro for Lenore, okay? Because someone just sent me a message. Someone who actually came down to there, and let me just find it a second, because I got to read this. I know Lenore didn't hear it from me yet, but here it is. Where is it? It was very. Lenore is fabulous, but I want to say that the credit to blah, blah, blah goes to the organization. And then he says that with all due respect, the Gal Gadot, Lenore is Israel's true Wonder Woman. Okay, that's the message here. Lenore is the true Wonder Woman. So I back that. Go ahead, Lenore.
Wow, wow.
Lenore, I'm just saying this so I can tell you to stay there a little
Thank
longer.
you, really. I will stay here as long as I'm here only because of you guys, all of you, the supports. And I just want to what I've done since yesterday, okay? I'm sorry it's loud in here. We are just loaded all the truck with our
Lenore. What?
We
Give
can
her
give
one.
her a minute.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Yeah, we can give her a minute.
I'll explain where Lenore is and why the reception isn't good until she sort of gets her reception back.
Yeah.
She's by the border, by the customs there, where we're trying to release our humanitarian relief equipment there, 15 tons, to get it out into the community.
Well, I'm awake 21 hours a day, sleeping 3 hours in between the driving from Kishinev to the borders. And I have the privilege to be here by the name of all our supporters and 6,200 volunteers in Israel. And I'm here because all of you. I'm not a hero and I'm not Gal Gadot, not at all, honestly. I'm just a manager of emergency situation and I'm here on the ground doing what I've learned and I'm representing all of you. So honestly, thank you for all your comments, but I'm not feeling like Gal Gadot right now. I'm feeling that we are in a humanitarian crisis, that we cannot even dream how and when it will end. Yet we have a flight that Dovi was speaking about. And we were waiting for Yechiel, one of our volunteers, who drove his ambulance 3.5 hours to the northern border and will bring from Ukraine. He got inside to Ukraine with medicine for a person who have cancer, and he cannot go. Don't allow him because he's in the age, even if cancer, they brought the medicine for him. And with a mother, an 11 years old son, their father, he killed from missile attack right out of his son and wife's eyes. They didn't have funeral for him. And we make all the rest, they were on their way to Kishinev. Safe place, home that they can just start their life again. And meanwhile, here in Kishinev, on the top, we are treating thousands of refugees, but behind this one word, refugees, that all of us is hearing, it's women's and kids and babies and grandmothers and grandfathers. who left everything behind them don't have it. They sleeping in a shed, in a mattress on the floor. And you know who over here at Moldova, it's only us. Only United Sala on the group. The European Union is helping them, not the Red Cross, no one. First, they're still at the border shelters. It's only United Sala. I'm upset.
We'll give her one more minute to come back.
Yeah, communications there are sketchy.
Yeah, I think you get the idea of what's happening.
Do we want to open up to some questions while we wait to see if she can get back in? We still have Dovey here.
Sure.
Great idea, Phil. I will WhatsApp her.
And leave it to our IT person to make that suggestion.
Always, come on.
Yes. I have a question. I could kick it off for Davi. What is the people that you're meeting? What is their sense of, do they expect to return to Ukraine? Do they feel like they're never going to return to Ukraine, or do they feel that they just don't know? They have a sense of hopelessness.
So it depends when you ask them. At the border, you just see shock, you see helplessness, you see, I don't even know what the word is. They're just confusion. Because they cross the border, they don't even know where they're going. They don't even know where they're going. Just understand this, people are going to the border, carrying a bag, going to another country. They have no idea.
I lost the signal.
They don't know where they're going. They don't know what, if anyone is waiting on the other side, who's going to take care of them. So there's a lot of helplessness. Those who do hang around for a day or two or three in the refugee camps get a little bit settled in, and we were able to create discussions with them. Some of them really are hoping to get back there once this war is over. I've not seen, there are some that say, okay, we're moving, forget about it. But most of them want to go back there. Don't forget, the most of them, all the younger people, have the fathers back home. They're not with the whole family. They can't wait to reunite. This is the hardest part. And they're moving on from Moldova to another country, be it Israel or any other country. They're not sticking around there. They're continuing to move. So I would say that most of them really want to get back.
Does anyone else have a question?
Is there any kind of plans on assisting these people in relocating to other nations if that's the case, if they choose not to go back? I mean, is there? I would assume that there's some sort of talks between governments, whether it be United States or whatnot, to try to help place these people, these that have lost everything into new homes. I mean, it's heartbreaking watching stuff on TV. But yeah.
Yeah. So yes, there is. I know that I got a call today from the German consulate in Moldova, and they passed some sort of notification in the German government saying that they want to take in, I don't know how many thousands of refugees and take them in and set them up with a new life. So they're facilitating that. I know that in Israel, we're doing that, of course, with Aliyah and people, but they're not taking only Olim, they're taking everyone, basically whoever wants to come and has some sort of family relation in Israel of some sort. And they're taking in also refugees, even for a temporary, until they'll see what happens and what unfolds there. But yes, also Poland, I know, is working on this. So governments take more time, obviously, but we're starting to see. I got this call from the German consulate, and it was interesting. So they are working. It just takes time. In the meantime, they're worried about the right here and right now. Get these people out of harm's way, move them into different countries around Europe, Israel, and whatever, just so that they can have a place to stay for the next months or whatever time until they see how this plays out and if they can get back home, if there is a home.
Are there any other organizations like yours on the ground? I did hear like there was no Red Cross, and over here people seem to, when crises happen like this, they donate quickly to groups like Red Cross that might take a longer time mobilizing, not on the ground like you guys as the marketer, and try to help promote helping donate to this cause. I'd like to kind of get that understanding and talk more about how you guys are on the ground now doing the work right now compared to other larger or whichever organizations that we're used to seeing on TV.
So there are more organizations on the ground, yes. First of all, in other countries, for sure. Red Cross and others, and many other organizations are in the other countries. In Romania, it was interesting. When at first we could only come through Romania, so you could see it was surreal to see how when you cross the border from Moldova as a refugee into Romania, in Moldova there's nothing on the road, and you cross the border, and right after the border you have Red Cross stops everywhere with food, with basic necessity, with everything. But in Moldova, nothing. It was just mind-boggling to see this. On the ground, there are other organizations, and I know organizations like the Red Cross take time to mobilize in order to build, refugee camps and things like that. It takes them time. So I have not seen them personally in Moldova. I have seen them in Romania, yes. And I've seen on the media in Poland. I was not there. I was just in Romania and in Moldova. So, and we're not setting up refugee camps. We're coming to work within that. We were pushed into a corner and we needed to create food, so we did it. I think the differences between us and other organizations is, yes, we have our protocol, but we see beyond the protocol what's needed and we just do it. Yes, we will hand over as soon as there are people there to hand over to. So in the community, and certain things that we were doing, we already handed over some of the operation. Even in the kitchen, we handed over some of the operation already, but we're still there. Until we see that, because we don't want to pull out and leave a vacuum there, because people will suffer. So it's a process until the big organizations mobilize themselves.
Did we get any chance Lenore was able to rejoin just via audio?
I saw her and now I don't see her again. I think what keeps losing the signal is the challenge.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let me go back and tap again.
Yeah. Any other questions for Dovey?
Dovey, what would you say your greatest need or the people's greatest need is right now as they cross the border, or even before they cross the border?
I think that the first thing when they cross the border is they need a blanket, they need a hug, they need something to eat, and they need some certainty of where they're going. That is the simple thing. We're bringing that equipment in, we're flying that equipment in on our equipment flights and cargo, and that's what we need more of, support of that and support of the people to be there. I think the most important thing is for people to be there, because otherwise it's just policemen, border control policemen, moving them in an orderly fashion onto buses. And it's a scary sight to see. It's a terrible sight to see. Having that extra moment there, that attention, that hug, that toy, the blanket, whatever it is, showing that someone is there that cares. We're not just moving like a herd. I think that is that's on the borders. Moving into the capital, we're talking about food. We're talking about getting people on flights, getting buses. Moving these people on buses from point A to point B is costs a fortune. Getting buses, by the way, I know that other organizations are working on getting buses from inside Ukraine out towards the border, and those cost even more. But it really is, it's a massive operation. But I think that human touch is most important.
And Lenore is trying to get back in one more time if anyone has questions for her.
Okay.
Hi, I'm back again.
Great.
Yay. Do we want to ask Lenore some questions, or do we want to just have her? Would you like, first of all, thank you for being here, Lenore.
Thank you.
I think we go ahead, Kim.
Oh, Lenore, I thought you could share just one of the greatest stories of impact, the story of the baby with everybody. I thought.
Sure, baby Rain. This is her name, Rain. Baby Rain burned Kiev to a single mom who was assisting to parents in Israel who wasn't able to bring kids. And she delivered the baby. Everything went well, beautiful little girl. And after 3 days, we just got inside to the Ukraine with ambulance in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, and we bring baby Rain safely to the hotel. It's a shelter, okay? It's not a real hotel. And I took care of her, and Dobby is laughing. And I took care of Rain.
We call it a hotel, but it's not.
It's not. I took care of Rain.
Just like we want people to feel normal and real. So we call the mess hall, we call it the restaurant. So
Yes.
we're at the hotel, we're at the restaurant.
But it's a soup kitchen. It's soup kitchen. But we need to feel like normal people right now in this chaos. So Rain was taken care of by me and Vicky all night long. And I was saying, oh my God, we are such lucky that this morning we received the diapers and the baby food so we could take care of Rain with this humanitarian aid. And then Vicky moved forward with Rain to Romania, to Yashi Airport. And over there she met the mother and father, just arrived from Israel. She gave them the baby safely to the mother's hand. Of course, everyone was crying. You cannot see even the video and not crying in this emotional moment. And we're just privileged to be here on the ground and save lives and save souls. So many souls that injured, that are traumatized from this situation. And the psychological unit is doing magic over here. Absolutely magic.
Can you give us an idea on some of the stories or how that the refugees and their travels, David was talking about, some of them are traveling 7 days with just a bag and no food. Are they running into,
so
war area? Like, are they having to come, what are they coming up against in their
well,
travel?
Coming out of war.
Yeah.
First of all, they decide to run away. And the problem is that inside many villages they lose communication. So they don't even aware to what's happening and what kind of journey they're expecting to go through. And if they think, this is what they know, that it will take them a few hours of driving to the border, the reality that it's take them several days. And they are going out to this journey and they are not prepared. They don't take enough food or water or diapers to the babies or food for the baby. They don't take enough supply for this journey. And what happened that it will take them 3, 4, 5 days because every minute you have currency of missile alarms. So you need to stop. If you are not allowed to proceed. And this is why a few hours driving take them few days. And the whole family is moving and moving and moving to the border, to the Ukrainian border. And there, in that moment, after they are in a huge traffic, okay? They're sitting and waiting to their turn to come. And the officer is telling, you cannot come through, man. You need to go and help and assist and fight. You're going to stay here. And now, please decide whether all of you are going back or only your wife and kids can go through and you will stay. You cannot go through. And in that moment, the family is tear apart. The father telling his wife, please go. I need to save you and my kids' life or my parents, and I will stay. And the decision that they are all make, it's normal people. They have jobs, they have business, they're educated, okay? At that moment, they decided that the husband will stay with the car and she's going by foot to the Moldovan side. So right now, she's with a small suitcase and her kids and pets and parents going by foot to the Moldovan side. Hundreds of people are standing on the line, snow, freezing, 8 to 12 hours you need to stand and wait. And if someone wants to go to the toilet, they're afraid because then they will lose their how do you say tor? Their line?
Spot in the line.
Yeah, thank you. So at that moment, they're just hoping for the best. And when they're crossing the border with the stamp of the passport, this is the moment that we are seeing them, that we are receiving them. With hypothermia, you can see my hands are freezing. Okay, it's freezing over here. And I'm at Kishinev, but at the border, it's much more freezing. So it's hypothermia. They're so hungry because they haven't eaten for 1 or 2 days because they didn't take enough supply. The mother is crying. She cannot call to her husband and tell him, I'm safe now, because she's in a different zone area and she cannot call like overseas. The kids are just horrified. They're locked with their hands on the mother leg. It's very difficult. I'm a mother, I'm a single mother of 2 daughters. And I cannot believe that this mother that I'm seeing crossing the border with her daughter or son, I cannot believe that this is the reality. And I'm looking into their eyes and I just give them comfort. I just tell them that you are safe now. You are safe. And now we will take care of you. And then we are doing all the triage about the medical and the humanitarian and the psychological care that needed to be delivered as a first response and a second plan, like the rescue flight. It's very difficult to be here, honestly, because you realize that it doesn't stop. when I say thousands of thousands, it's thousands of thousands. It's not one and not two families. Each volunteer deal with 100 of refugees every day. And we are awake 21 hours a day, sleeping 3 hours. Honestly, this is the timing here over here. So it's very difficult. It's not normal to be in this situation. And honestly, we are having the power to do and to proceed because this is the right way and right thing to do. The right thing to do. As a Jewish, I cannot believe that I'm seeing people, not only Jewish, people that are refugees, that are standing in lines with suitcase, trying to run away and save their life, like World War II, like Holocaust. I'm sorry, this is the picture that I'm seeing. But thank God that now, as a Jewish people, I can come and say, I will take you to Israel. Come with me. You are safe now.
Lenore, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm like trying to talk and not get so choked up, but I want to give you a huge hug and say thank you. You're a special person, and Debbie, you too, and everyone. It's just so touching to me and so amazing what you guys are doing. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Kim, what do we want to do now?
So,
see if there's.
I just want to thank you all for just listening to the work that's happening on the ground. I want to give everyone a chance, I think, just to breathe for a minute and absorb what Lenore just said and what Lenore is truly going through. I think one of the things that I recognize about Lenore these past few days as a colleague is that I think every person who crosses the border, Lenore takes on their story and their burden and feels very much a part of that person's journey. And that's probably, Lenore is gonna need some of the team psychotrauma specialty when she's back with her family. And one of the things Lenore did not share is just how hard this has been on her own children, because they're back in Israel. And I know for me, I got very emotional last week watching her children be reunited with her, because she's been so great about reuniting other families. But I know that as a single mom of two, that this is weighing heavy on her family. So we're extra grateful that she's made the time to be there, to be so helpful to other families who are really in the most difficult moments of crisis right now. And so to your girls, we also say thank you. But we just want to thank you and your company, Michael, for making the time and for being here and for launching this campaign. And Sarah has shared the way you can give, and I know you are going to send a note around as well. And really, we are here for any questions you may have. If anyone needs to touch base with Sarah or I, Michael, you can include that in the note as well. And just thank you all for what you do and for the spirit in which you do it. But may the world just know better days soon.
And I would just like to say that you guys are the best of humanity. We're seeing the worst of humanity and the evil, but you guys are the best of humanity. And it's just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, so I guess we're going to conclude. Okay, all right, so I'll be sending along, there's a link in the chat for the page to go if you wish to give. And we'll be following up with an email to the group and to the United Hatzalah team. Thank you so much. It was really our pleasure to be with you this morning. So thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.